Is Oakensall actually viable on a sorcerer in PvP? The answer is yes. This is the Evoker, and this is hands down one of the best magsorks I have played to date. Hey, it's Dan, and welcome to Unified Gaming. So for today guys, we're going to break down the Evoker, a PvP magicka sorcerer like no other. This thing has really high burst, really great sustain, and it's really tanky, allowing you to work in Battlegrounds, Cyrodiil, IC, Duels, etc, you name it. The burst is crazy high as you can see there, and it utilises this combo really easily, which is way better than using subclassing. That said, I will give subclass options should you wish it. There is on the channel already over a 20-minute gameplay guide showing you how to play this build in Cyrodiil and in IC, as well as a Battlegrounds with a 43 kill streak, which is absolutely insane. This is hands down my favourite Oakensall build to play. As always, if you like these videos and these guides, likes and comments are greatly appreciated. And if you haven't done so, do subscribe so you don't miss out. I also want to say a massive thank you to all of the YouTube and Patreon members who do support the channel. They get access to the videos early, exclusive builds and guides with gameplay and much more. If you want to do that, there's details down below. For the build itself though, we're going to go through everything you need to know, so do pay attention. But if you get any questions, message me on YouTube or in the Discord and I'll do my best to reply. So now that we've shown a bit of the gameplay, I'm going to break down everything you need to know and talk about the good and the bad and just how this thing works. Starting with the race, you want to use a race that has max magicka ideally, and I do think the Breton is the best one for this. Not because it's my main character, that's what I have, but I think the sustain is really needed. We get extra resource, more magicka, more damage, bigger shields. We get lots of recovery, which is super useful, and we also get cost reduction. That's the key one here. If you're not a Breton, you could make this work on a Dark Elf and just want an extra recovery glyph that will get you there, or you can run 2 even, so there are options, so don't panic if you're not a Breton. But if you're going to make a new character, Breton is where I would go. For the attributes on this one, we are stacking our magicka as much as we can. And so what that means is we have 45,000, almost 46,000 magicka at all times. It's really high magicka. That means really big shields, really high damage. Every 10.5 magicka is 1 spell damage, so a lot of our damage comes from this value here. We also have almost 4,000 spell damage at flat, which is awesome. We've got 8k pen with Mage Breach, we also got Minor Breach, and we've also got an extra 1k on top, so we have lots of penetration. For the mundus, I'm utilising the Mage Mundus. This gives us bigger shields, and it gives us more damage. You can use the Lover if you want slightly higher damage against players, but your shield will be slightly less. Or you could use the Astronaut for more recovery. You might be thinking that recovery is a little bit low, but when we buff up with our skills, it does go up a little bit. And when we use potions, which I'll put on now, you'll see it goes up to about 2k. We also utilise a few stamina skills to make our stam pool needed, and that's why we have 20k here and that stam recovery. So this is enough for sustain, and I find this is like the sweet spot for me personally, but you may want to tweak it for your needs. As for the food on this one, we are utilising Bewitched Sugar Skulls this time. I was experimenting with Pickled Fish Bowl, which is fantastic, and you can get slightly similar stats if you use this and move your attributes around or use some different glyph choices. In all honesty, it's just easier going with Sugar Skulls, and that's why I'd recommend doing that. All points of magicka, Sugar Skulls, you're pretty much there with where you need to be stamina wise. I would recommend aiming for that 20k stam because it does make a difference. For the skills in this one, and potions, the potions are, it's a unified build, it's all tri potions, usual stuff here. But you could use movability ones if you wish. I don't think they're needed. I live with the tries, that's what I personally like. For the skills, we are utilising a sorcerer, and we have 3 sorcerer skill lines: Dark Magic, Storm Calling, and Daedric Summoning. You might be going, why would you not use subclassing on this? Why are you not using Assassination anymore? I'll get through that in a second, but this is hands down the best combo I have found for what we're trying to do. The first skill we use is a skill called Shocking Soul. This is a scribed skill, and you do need this skill. It is really good, it's consistent damage. With the class mastery, it becomes one of the best spammables in the entire game, and also gives us breach. So this is shock, class mastery, and breach. You might be going, I don't have class mastery, what do I do? You put on lingering torment in the middle. It was still better than any other option that you currently have, because you still get the breach, so it's still like elemental weapon. You still got the shock, you get the dot, so it's still decent enough. You could also use things like False Pulse for the interrupt if you wish, or Crush and Shock. So there are options, but I would definitely go this route. For our burst skill, we're actually utilising Crystal Weapon. Now Crystal Weapon is a bit of a special skill. When you use this, you get a 6-second duration. That means your next light attack gets a bonus 11,000 on it. What this means is that when we utilise this with our Shock and Soul, this becomes essentially 20,000 damage within one hit. Now you might be thinking that's quite a lot of damage. That is actually very, very, very similar, if you look at the Assassination skill line, to Grim Focus. Grim Focus has a 1-second global cooldown. So what that means is when you shoot this, you can't do anything else. You can light attack, but that's it. So when I was testing and trying different combos, I actually found that Crystal Weapon, because I can pre-cast this and then light attack Shock and Soul, I end up getting much higher burst consistently, because I can basically do this every other cast. Crystal Weapon, Shock and Soul, Crystal Weapon, Shock and Soul, Crystal Weapon, Shock and Soul. And by utilising these two together, you get those really high peaks that you saw in the gameplay. We can then also throw an overload on top of this, because this is a light attack like modifier, it adds damage to your light attack. You can then proc the Crystal Weapon as well, so you can end up doing overload on, Crystal Weapon, light attack, Shock and Soul. You end up proccing Shock and Soul, you proc Crystal Weapon, and you proc overload, which means you hit incredibly hard, really high bursts, and it's easy to line up. That is the reason I've gone down this route in this build. I did experiment with Crystal Fragments, and it's too random, it's not worth it. And I know some people in the comments will ask me though, Dan, what about the Templar, and what about maybe Adric's Spear and using any of these, or maybe Dawn's Wrath and using Power of the Light, Backlash? They are terrible. I did even try the Necromancer, Gravelord. The Blast Bones was decent, but it's too random. This was consistently high burst, and I can control it whenever I like. So I would recommend keeping these 3 skill lines for this reason. Not only that, the Dark Magic did get a change, that the Blood Magic now gives you more resource when you heal. So this is more max magic, which is awesome, more damage, bigger shields, fantastic. The Crystal Weapon also has an additional benefit that you get an extra 1,000 penetration when you hit people, so more damage. And if you don't auto cast it every other time, alternate it, you still get this bonus damage under here as well. So I often just do Crystal Weapon, Shock and Soul to get both of these, and it means that this ends up hitting really hard as a combo. So I would definitely recommend utilising these skill set. For the other skills, it's Hardened Ward, and then it's Healing Contingency. This is Healing, Gladiator's Tenacity, and Minor Resolve. When we proc this, our defense stat goes up to 28k spell resist, 24k physical. It's as high as we can really get on an Oaken Sword build without changing our traits on our jewelry or using like armor potions. So there are options there, but this is enough to survivability I found. I can 1vx on this build, I can fight outnumbered, I can kite really well with that sustain. So I wouldn't rush to, go, oh, do I need to get more armor? You've got this big shield. In PvP, this is about 13,000 when I was checking. It's about 12,900 roughly. So it's got a good enough shield. It's big enough to take quite a few hits. And then you obviously got the healing should you need this. The final skill is Streak. Streak is a range teleport that does damage and it stuns people. It's an offensive skill to stun in our combo, or it's defensive if we need to escape. We can teleport away, stun people, and run away if we need. One of the big tips with this is Streak, roll dodge like this. You end up stunning the people and avoiding all the damage if it comes into you. And as I said, it's energy overload for the ultimate. Those are the skill lines that I would recommend using on this build. I wouldn't change any of these out. I have tried all the different options, trust me, and if you can find something better, please, let me know. I have also been testing this against my old build, and this was beating the old build consistently. I could burst it almost instantly every single time with an overload, Crystal Weapon, Shock and Soul combo. So much damage, really hard to avoid. For the champion points in this one, we are utilising the Master at Arms, Weapons Expert, Deadly Aim, and Arcane Supremacy. For the red ones, we have Fortified for more armor, Pain's Refuge, Bastion, and Celerity. And the green ones, War Mount, Gifted Rider, Deed's Blessing, and Sustaining Shadows. I'm now going to go through the sets and everything you need to know. This is what I found is the best setup, and I will show a superstar in a moment, so just do look out for that. And I just want to say a massive thanks again to all of the members who do support the channel. For the build and the sets, we are utilising the 3 Queen set. This is fantastic. This is basically crafty Alphique minus a little bit of magicka, but you get recovery for every 100 magicka you have. What this means is we have 459 mag regen. This is really, really good because it gives us lots of magicka for damage and big shields, but it gives us loads of sustain on this 5-piece. This has become one of my favourite sorcerer sets to use because it's so good. For this set we are utilising Sharpened, and we have an Absorb Stamina glyph. Now you might be going, why on earth are you using an Absorb Stamina glyph on a magicka build? The Absorb Stamina does physical damage. Physical damage can proc Sauntered, which then procs Minor Breach. That's 3000 penetration. This has around about a 40% uptime, and that's namely because in the Destruction Staff, we do get some passives that increase our status effects chance, which is awesome. Now you could, if you really wanted, change this to be charged, and then this procs every single time it procs. That said, I don't think it's worth it, so I'd keep this Sharpened and use the Absorb Stamina. The other reason we need the Absorb Stamina is we do utilise Crystal Weapon. It uses a lot of stamina. It's very good, but it does utilise a lot of stamina, so we do need that sustain. For the monster set, we are then utilising Black Gem Monstrosity. While you're in combat, casting a soul magic ability consumes a soul gem, gives you a black gem splinter for 10 seconds, and when you then a light attack, it will then fire and will do damage based on the target's max health. It can do up to 17,000 damage, which obviously that never happens unless it's an ad, but against a player with about 30k health, this does about 2,500 to 3,000 damage. It fires every 6 seconds. What's really nice though, is that we don't use this for its consistent damage. It is not for that reason. We use this for its burst. This does consistently 2,500 to 3,000 damage. If they are 34, 35k health, it's for 5,000 damage. What makes this so nice is that this skill and this set like line up together. So the combo, I'll show you what it looks like against a target dummy. We have our overload on, we're in combat, crystal weapon, light attack overload streak. That kills people instantly. Because this set will like turn on when you do the first shock in soul. It will then fire on the light attack overload, which then means you just get free damage in the combo. And if you look at the combat metrics, like this is a target dummy obviously, but you can see it can crit. So when it crits, it hits incredibly hard, you know, doing an extra 3 to 5k damage consistently. And that 3 or 5,000 damage with all this other damage at once is enough to kill people instantly. So this has become one of my favourite sets for Sorcerer this patch because it works so well with their, you know, that Willed Soul skill that we use. If you don't have this set or access to this, you can then change this to a set of choice. If you want more sustain, things like Rose is quite good, or one Baron Thrisk, one Magma Incarnate. If you want more magicka, you could go down the route of using like one piece Domahorse or Swarm Mother, for example, like this, which will give you magicka and stamina and change the food. But this is much better in my opinion. We then utilise 2 pieces of trainee with prismatic, and we've got reinforced on the chest, and then we have some 3 queens throughout. So we have 3 queens on the waist, the hands and the feet, trainee on the legs and the chest, and black gem on the head and the shoulders. I've gone with impen and reinforce throughout. Impen on the big pieces where, like on the small pieces, sorry, and reinforce on the big pieces where possible. And I've gone with prismatic on all the big ones, the head, the chest and the legs, with magic on all the small. For the jewelry, we have willpower ×2 for more magicka. This is slightly better than any 2-piece because it's got this extra bonus, so that's why we utilise this set. And we've gone with recovery, stamina and arcane. We've done stamina, recovery again and arcane. And on the last one, the Yokensaw ring, we have arcane spell damage. If you are not a Breton, you go, oh, I'm a dark elf, you then swap this to be recovery and that fixes the build completely. And you go magic recovery at this point. If you are, you know, a Breton, keep it as spell damage. The reason we need 2 stam recoveries is that we have to be able to sustain this skill, and that regen plus the absorb glyph on the weapon gives us enough sustain to be able to use the skill consistently when we're in combat, and then not worry about our stamina being drained. So as you can see, I'm just weaving it and I'm using it every 2 seconds, and my stamina pool didn't really go below 20k. When you add in people who will stun you and snare you and you have to roll, that is why you do need the absorb stamina glyph, and you do need the regens here. So if you don't have your base regen about 1100, almost 1200, you won't find this easy to sustain. So you do need about 1200 stam regen if you roll a lot like I do. The mag sustain is absolutely fine because we utilize quite a cheap skill here, and these other skills we don't use too often unless we're defensive, and we can just kite and use a potion, and get up to 2000 recovery, which is really high for a sorcerer, so we have plenty of sustain. But that is the build. I will get asked in the comments, like, what about vampirism? What else should we use? You can be a vampire if you want. If you go down the vampirism, go stage 3 and put this as recovery, magicka recovery, and that will make it work. The stam regen will be slightly harder to use, but it's viable, and you'll have more defense with undeath. As for other options with subclassing, if you did really want to use it, the only other effective one was the Nightblade, Assassination, Grim Focus, and morph this to the Stamina morph, Relentless Focus, because you can fire this every 4 stacks, not 5. You charge to 10, you can then shoot it 3 times in a row. So you go shoot, light attack, shoot, light attack, shoot. And you can shoot 3 of these in a row, which will kill people. I found that having just had the crystal weapon, I can just do this on demand whenever I like. So that's why I've gone that route. I'm now going to show Superstar, and it will show you all the scribe skills, everything you need to know. So like, pay attention there. So here's the Superstar for the build. And this has taken a lot of testing, a lot of work. I really think you'll enjoy it though, and it is a blast to play. And then before I wrap out, I'll just show a bit more gameplay. So sort of from here, so this is where I'm in like IC, and I'm fighting outnumbered. I've got people trying to kill me, and we're having a really good just like 1vx, and then I had 4 or 5 people trying to chase me, and I'm just kiting around, moving and moving and moving. And then like here, I'm back in IC. I then go to a part where I'm on stream with this bit, and this person, I'm trying to chase him, and again I'm moving around. I put on my crystal weapon buff last 6 seconds. I go for the combo, he dodges it. I then go for the crystal weapon again and go for the combo. Look, I do half his salvo and 1 open and salvo, and then shoot the next salvo and light roll dodge, and it kills him. It's so much burst, like so much burst. I can't get over that. And as I said, if you want to see the full battlegrounds at the end, there's one at the end where I think I go 43 kills to 0, which is obscene. That is in the gameplay guide, which is it was quite a special moment. But yeah, I'm going to wrap this one up here. So I'm going to say a huge thanks for watching. Any questions, let me know down below. And as always, if you haven't done so, like, subscribe. It really helps the channel out. But until the next video or stream, thanks for watching, guys. Take care, and bye.